Hey gang, Dave here, and I wanted to send you guys a quick how-to video for the this week's lab, which is the relaxation technique lab, and the stress management module on Canvas. So this week, again, we're doing the relaxation techniques lab, and many people don't experience true meditative type relaxation training ever, unless you do some sort of guided imagery. Perhaps it's never been even introduced to you. And this sort of guided meditation or guided imagery can take place in many different formats or forums for that matter, such as, well, for this sort of activity in a PE setting. I know in yoga or Pilates or another, I'll say, slower pace class, you might do an instructor may take you through some pathways towards reducing stress and getting you to focus on the here and the now and kind of the present state. But for our class, what I do is I introduce a lot of different concepts within relaxation. And really, it's kind of a stepwise approach towards visualization, or what I call full mind. And actually, the word full mind comes from a book called, and I was just looking at the book, it's called Sacred Hoops. It's written by Phil Jackson, who is, he was the 1990s Chicago Bulls head coach and then the Lakers coach. And he wrote a book, again, called Sacred Hoops. And in that book, he talks about what's called full mind, which is really just being present, no matter where you're at, and practicing meditation in low stressful settings, so that when stress does arise, you're ready for it and you can combat it. And it's a little bit like self-talk, and it's a little bit of it's balancing self-talk with this stress management technique, which is meditation. And so being able to talk yourself through stressful times or things that can cause stress so that you can minimize that end product, which would be stress. So the first thing that you want to do is relax and breathe. And breathing is, it although it's an automatic thing that we do, it could very well be controlled by us. And so anytime we feel stress, oftentimes we feel like our breathing is changed, and that can bring about more stress. So anytime you can relax the body, oftentimes I'll ask my athletes to just lower your shoulders, and oftentimes don't tell them why I'm asking them to lower their shoulders. I could just feel they're in a heightened state of anxiety or stress in a hard workout or a particular meet or right before a big performance. And all I'll say is something like drop your shoulders, lower your shoulders. And what that will do is, if you can relax the body, you can typically speak to them a little easier, and they can relax the mind that way. But if the body is tense, it's really difficult to get through that wall, that barrier. So the first thing I do is to get them to relax. I just say, let's lower the shoulders, relax the shoulders, something along those lines, and then we can start to breathe. And when it comes to breathing in the formal settings, such as when I do this in a classroom setting, I like the cadence and the rhythm of counting to 4. So typically we inhale, we exhale, and to the same rhythm, to the same cadence of 4. So it's typically 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that rhythm actually slows down. So that's probably as fast as I would count. And as the lights are very dim, sometimes total blackness is in the room, and as time continues, we slow down that counting, so where they're maybe getting 3 or 4 breaths at the most per minute, and they're totally relaxed. The resting heart rate gets down to below 60, some of them below 50, and some of them even below 40. So you're totally immersing yourself in just this whole very peaceful, very relaxed state of being. And that's progressive relaxation. That'll last between 5 and 10 minutes. And I'm sorry, yeah, that is breathing control. Progressive relaxation is the next state. And so I already said kind of lowering the shoulders. That would be a little bit of progressive relaxation. but breathing truly comes first. And so the next thing is progressive relaxation. And the nice thing about progressive relaxation is it teaches you about um, the state of physical stress, and then there's a connection between physical and mental stress. So what we do is I always start with the toes and I end with the fingers, and you can start and stop, or you can do different muscle groups. You don't have to do the same ones that I do, but I just do about 4 to 8 different muscle groups, kind of depending on a few variables such as how much time we have, how experienced my audience is. But the first thing I do is I have my students curl their toes like they're trying to pick up a pencil with their toes. So they're just really curling and curling and curling for about 3 to 5 seconds, and then you relax. And I ask them to wiggle their toes a little bit so that they can feel that difference between being completely that tight contraction to a nice and relaxed state. So between stress and relaxation, and that's the physical side of stress. And then we do the calves, and then the shins, and then the quads, and hamstrings, and glutes. We do the abs, the chest, the shoulders, the biceps, the triceps, the hands. And you could do everything in between if you wanted to do just like one side, so like one calf, and then another calf, and then one quad, and then the other quad. Or you could also do an entire lower body. And the more experienced you get, you can start to do larger muscle groups, or kind of tag teaming a few different muscle groups to the point where your progressive relaxation training is so advanced and that you can just relax on cue, and you no longer need to go through those contractions and relaxations. Instead, you can actually just relax on cue. And that is kind of like, there's another term on here called self-hypnosis, but I quite honestly, I've never been hypnotized, but I think this is kind of a close to being hypnotized. Very similar to self-talk, where you're kind of just talking yourself through these rhythmic states. And I also call it a mantra. So if you can find a mantra to help you relax, such as just the word relax might be your mantra. Something like the word soft, or the word baby, or something, maybe a sound, maybe it's I don't know, maybe a song, or just the rhythm of the song that helps you get into that relaxed state, so that the muscles can then relax, and then you can obviously focus on the task at hand. And I always connect, a major test that you have to take, because you're all students. But the reality is that this stuff also connects with, a job interview. Being ready and being in full mind for your job interview. You got to be relaxed in order to be you, in order to sell yourself, to a company you're applying for, or a position. The next thing is after progressive relaxation training is visualization and imagery. Visualization is simply using the mind's eye, whereas imagery, you're including other senses. So a lot of times people, use both of the terms, but I do like to differentiate the two. And you can really interchange them, and that's fine. But you really are seeing with the mind's eye, and you can incorporate sounds and sights. You can incorporate different tastes and feelings. I oftentimes I will do some guided imagery right after the contraction or the progressive relaxation training, and I ask my students to see themselves at the top of a staircase, and then walk down the stairs, and then they see a door ahead. They go through the door, and I take them through a series of 3 different situations. The first one is their favorite dessert, and then what does that dessert? What does it look like? What are the colors? What's the texture? And then you eat it. What does it taste like, etc. The next thing is the chaser. So oftentimes with the dessert comes a milk or some sort of beverage. And what does that taste like? What is the density of that? And is the cup warm or cold? Or and then the next situation is a shower. Walking into a room where the shower has been turned on, and you feel the difference between the room you were just in to now into the bathroom, where there might be a light mist, or the air might be really warm and wet. And then walking into the shower, feeling the water hitting your body, that temperature difference there, and the moisture difference there. Can you smell some of the senses from the soaps, and can you hear the water going down the drain? All these things are visualization and imagery. So it's kind of fun just to kind of play with all these different senses and see if you can taste and hear and smell different things. And then moving into full mind is the application of a lot of that. So the application of imagery and being in full mind, with all of your senses turned on when you are living, and being consciously aware of others around you and being more sensitive to others' needs and desires and wants, and understanding your own as well with that. So there's a lot to this, with that full mind. It's the implementation of your visualization, the things you mentally rehearse, such as taking an exam, or whatever your life goals are you going towards them, or are you skewing away? And full mind can help you with that, with the practice and implementation of visualization to help keep you on track. And then there's biofeedback. Biofeedback is life. Bio means life, and that feedback is just understanding it. Biofeedback is more connected with breathing control and progressive relaxation training, where you can feel your heart rate, you can feel the sweating, you can feel changes in kind of those sensations in your body. Self-talk is really the things you say to yourself moment to moment, and how they influence your decisions from moment to moment throughout the day. I think that's a little bit more of a health 101 discussion. So I would say, of all of these concepts, I would say stick to the bullets on the left. I know biofeedback is labeled twice. That's okay. And you can also do meditation is kind of in that full, or in the visualization type state. But sometimes meditation with thinking about nothing, just thinking about complete blackness and just being able to, or even in prayer, being in that meditative state where you're just kind of being focused on the present, and concentrating on nothing. That can be really challenging. And then also listening to music can help people relax. Taking a break, going for a walk, getting a massage, these types of things. So my hope is that you can implement some kind of relaxation type, or I'll say mindful relaxation state or bout of activity, so that you have something to report on and experience with. What's interesting is, although we know that these types of meditative states or relaxation strategies are very therapeutic, I find that it's very similar to sleep, in that we know sleep is very therapeutic, but oftentimes we lack the 8 hours we need, and we sometimes also lack the relaxation that we need, or at least the time to ourselves to work and hone these relaxation skills. These are our stress management techniques, and stress is the #1 cause for heart disease, which is just mind-boggling to think about, that we live in a society where environmental factors such as smoking no longer is our #1 risk factor, but instead it is actually stress. Welcome to America. So in any case, I know this is a long video, but I think it's worth it. I hope you guys have fun with your relaxation techniques lab, and let me know if you have any questions.